Hello to all of my fellow revenge fans. It is Monica here from TVandPopcorn.com, and I am here to give my review on the mid-season finale. And this was season 4, episode 10, title Atonement. And wow. So let me start off with my little disclaimer, as I always do. If you have not caught up on the recent episodes of Revenge, please do tune me out and catch up on the latest episodes, and then come back on over and hear my thoughts, and also share with me your own by commenting and letting me know what you think about the mid-season finale. So let's get this party started, shall we? Wow. That's all I can say. I don't this season has been so up and down, left and right. I mean, it's just in all kinds of directions. So last week when I was watching Intel, which was season 4 episode 9, I thought that okay, Revenge is reminding me of a soap opera right now. I was not feeling it whatsoever. There was nothing really going on, and it's kind of like okay, we're dealing with relationships. Jack is hooking up with Kate. Ben is tripping because he's not getting the attention he wants, and of course Emily is still trying to do her thing, but she doesn't really have enough information to take down the person who's coming after her father, so she's still getting information. And then the witness that they did have, which Emily had one of the guys, and she was pretty much trying to get information out of him about who was coming after her father. These two guys came after her father in the hospital when Victoria had her incident where she was electrocuted, or whatever, the cords was down, it was raining, and she went to touch her car, and she experienced some electric shock, so she was in the hospital. And they come after David at that time, and Emily caught one, but the other one was caught by the police. But when they went into the room, they had discovered that he had hung himself, so it appears. So, long story short, Emily's getting some information from Ben in this episode when she was posing to basically go on a date with him, but she was only with him to get information. And so he tells her that the only two people, or the only people with access, was the FBI and of course the chief, or the head over the police department. So Emily's putting all this together, and so she's putting those two in, and she said, okay, Kate must be the one, as far as FBI is concerned, who had access to this guy. And I don't think that he hung himself, but that he was actually murdered, and they was just tying off loose ends. So here we are now in episode 10, where this is taking place, and Nolan is helping Emily pretty much fish for information on Kate, and they're trying to discover her role in tying up these loose ends, and if she's working for the bad guy who we have not seen yet, and his name is Malcolm Black. Okay, so last week, and this is why I'm saying all of this, just kind of recapping a little bit. Last week it was soap opera-ish to me, and then we discover, okay, we find out Margot's pregnant, and I'm like, really? Seriously? And then she's so in love with Daniel, but then she was dating Jack really strong last season. So it's kind of like, I mean, can we just get a job done here? Can we figure out what's going on? We got all these relationships and people swearing they love each other, and then it's just we bouncing back and forth, and you go from being with Jack, and now you just head over heels for Daniel. And I mean, Daniel and Margot, I guess they kind of hooked up last year, but then she got mad at him for some things that went down last year between them two. And I can't recall everything that happened. I have to go back and refresh my memory, but she was mad at him, and then they kind of picked up where they left off, after she discovered that her brother had something to do with Daniel actually leaving, and she was mad at him about that too, leaving the magazine company, so, or the editing company. And so, okay, so she's mad, and they pick up their relationship where they left off, and then all of a sudden it's love. I'm like, I mean, I get it. You can love. There can be different people that come in your life that you can love. I get that. But at the same time, her attitude towards Daniel throughout this season has just not been quite right to me, because to me Daniel had not really committed to Margot. I mean, he was dating Margot. I get that. No problem. They were in a relationship. But there was really no commitment. And I'm saying all of this before I get to the obvious, because I know you guys are like, is she really talking about this and missing the whole shocker of the mid-season finale? I'm not. I'm with you guys. I'm just, setting this up and trying to kind of give you an idea of my emotional balance and trauma and all that stuff with the show right now. So, I'm looking at all of this just last week. I'm not, I love Revenge. I'm not going to not watch it, but I was mad at them last week. So I'm just trying to show you the difference in what it looked like last week and what it looked like this week and what it's been looking like all season for season 4. So anyway, Margot is now trying to decide if she wants to raise the baby with Daniel. And of course, Daniel is trying to do the right things, which I have to honestly give him kudos for. Now, I would like to take a moment to kind of dive in with the rest of the fans here. And as I always call you guys my fellow Revenge fans, because I'm in there with you, Team Revenge. But I was not rooting for Emily and Daniel to get back together. And I am not rooting for Emily and Jack to get back together. First of all, Jack hooked up with Kate. That's just no. I'm not feeling it. I'm no. He has no type of, there's no chemistry there. I really think that Jack is pretty much over Emily, and I feel like Emily might be over Jack. Um, I would think, and this is just my personal opinion, it would be interesting to maybe see a love interest for Emily kind of walking her life, somebody that kind of reminds her of Aiden and has that same stance and aura that he used to have. I feel like that would be really cool, and that would kind of be a twist too. And of course, I guess it's not too big of a twist if I'm thinking it up, but I'm just saying I would like to see that. The Emily and Jack thing, I'm not in it, and I'm not into, or I wasn't into Emily and Daniel getting back together, but I will say I did enjoy their interactions in the past few episodes, and I really did feel like Daniel genuinely understood once he found out that Emily was Amanda. I feel like he really did understand what she was going through and why she did what she did. Also, I feel like Daniel had a really huge eye opener, and he was like, I get it now. This wasn't really directed towards me. She had a lot going on, and her being connected with me helped her take down a lot of people. So I really think he understood that, which is what made their encounter so interesting. And the fact that he really is rooting for her to finish what she started, and to handle it and fight for her relationship with her father, which was taken away from her. So he clearly understood that. But Daniel, of course, in this episode, he's going through flashbacks of his past. And I believe that Daniel regretted that he didn't fight for just standing up for himself against his own father. And let me go ahead and talk about this for a second. Conrad was back on Revenge. How about that? We haven't seen Conrad since David took him out in the last episode of season 3, the finale of season 3. So it was nice to see Conrad, but then when Conrad started to speak, because I was on the bandwagon, like, really, y'all didn't have to kill Conrad. But as he was speaking to Daniel, I was just mad at him all over again. Conrad was a real jerk. Clever, but a jerk. Seriously. And he justified all of his wrongdoing. And it's just, I'm like, wow, this guy has no morals. Everything is look out for self. And really, in the real world, you can't just look out for you, because if you're just looking out for you, just as Daniel was letting him know, and as he told his mother when they met at the bar because she wanted to talk to him about Margot in this recent episode, episode 10. Basically, he's letting them know we got to do the right thing. And when we don't do the right thing, we hurt people who have been in our lives, that things have affected them and we have not stood up for them. And we have not given them the chance to have the lives that they deserve, because pretty much we're looking out for us. And there was a word that he used. Let me see if I can gather that word. I'm thinking about it. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't even uh, cover. No, it wasn't cover. Something, and he was pretty much a reference to them basically being cowards, and they were only really hiding, looking out for themselves. So he told her that he hopes that she stops hiding, and he said that he's done hiding. And I was cool with that. Now, I do believe that if things had not turned out the way they did this last episode, one thing that I'm not sure about with Daniel, and I wasn't sure about with Victoria or Charlotte, is how long they can stay on the straight and narrow. Because you can do one thing to tick any of those three off, the Graysons in the Grayson family, and you can go from being their best friend to on their bad side any moment now. I feel like they would have to practice living that type of lifestyle long enough to even give a dang about anybody if push come to shove, and they might be in jeopardy as well, but they need to do right at the same time. So I'm not going to say if things had not transpired the way they did, that Daniel would have kept up this same attitude. Is very, very, very hard to say, because in Intel, when he was speaking to his mother, he pretty much told her that Emily, is going to make it her priority to take you down. And I'm like, he could have kept that to himself. He knows how crazy his mother is. I wouldn't have even mentioned that to her, but he did. So it's just kind of hard for me to say that, yeah, this Daniel he was on solid ground and he was going to stay there. But let me go and just say this also: anything when you're changing takes a heck of a lot of practice, especially when you're used to a certain thing. So the fact that he wanted to change is, huge kudos. And of course, this is a show. I'm relaying this to, personal experience of my own. When you are crossing over from what you're used to doing something new, you have to constantly check your attitude, see where your thoughts are, and you have to take it moment by moment, opportunity by opportunity. So I feel like that would have been Daniel's case, because I think he would have been too tempted to jump back into situations had things not transpired the way they did. So, moving right along, now I'm nervous. I'm very nervous because here we are, and of course, you're hanging in there with me, so you already know what went down. And it's going to be all over the Hampton News when they come back from the mid-season finale, um, which will be in January. But Daniel appears to have been killed in this episode by Kate. Come to find out, Kate is Malcolm Black's daughter. Malcolm Black is the guy who's now coming after David Clark, which he's saying that David Clark owes him a few $1 million, which Kate revealed that David gave to charities before he ran off, and broke his cover with them. And he was pretty much doing that because he felt bad about, trying to get redemption pretty much for all the bad things that he had done, blah, 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 as she say. But now I'm nervous because Kate kills Daniel. Margot's pregnant with Daniel's baby. And Victoria's still in the picture, which is so much to cover. Hang in there with me, because I'm going to get this out. Somehow, somewhere, I'm going to touch on everything I'm thinking about right now. But Victoria can manipulate people very well. And in the previews for the episode coming up in January, Victoria looks really pissed at the fact that Daniel pretty much gave his life for Emily. How is Margot going to take this? Will this go into a new story or era of revenge for Margot because Daniel gave his life for Emily? How will she see that? Is she going to see it as because he was there, it's Emily's fault? Will she let this go? What's going to happen? Will Margot, and I honestly, Margot, I want to like her, but I do not like her because to me, she's preachy and she became very preachy to Daniel even after she took down Louise. But Louise did try to kill her, so I mean, who can blame her? But at the same time, Margot is not innocent either. Margot can do some shady stuff, and she has. So where's this going to lead with her? Is she going to try to run up against Emily, and will she find out that Emily really is Amanda Clark? That's freaky to me. I don't even know where to go in my mind. Now, I did have a prediction, everybody, that I do believe is Chief Edwards. I thought Chief Edwards was going to be the one who was offed in the mid-season finale. I did not expect for it to be Daniel, which I did read a lot of things in social media where it was like um, people predicting pretty much that it was going to be Daniel, but I thought that it wasn't going to be any of the main characters, and that was a I guess you could say a rumor that was spreading around, like it wasn't going to be a main character and we didn't have to worry about it. Am I sad that Daniel character is no longer going to be on the show? Yes, I am, to an extent. Like I said, I didn't want to see him and Emily back together. I get why a lot of people were saying that, but there are some things that happen in relationships where when you move on, it's just best not to go back. And the fact that he shot Emily twice, and he could have killed that girl, but she survived. And she didn't survive necessarily because he shot her just to hurt her and not kill her. He could have killed Emily. And not to mention, at that time, the way he treated her when they were in the house. And like I've said before in a previous review, I don't like the fact that Daniel went through all that, shot Emily twice, and still didn't go after the quote unquote love of his life, which is, and I forgot her name, but you guys, I know you remember who I'm talking about, but he didn't go after her even after he shot Emily, even after they divorced, and then all of a sudden now Margot's in love with him and pregnant with his child. And I'm like, so why did you even shoot Emily? And it made no sense. So no, I would not have liked to see them back together, but I would miss him as a character. I think there was room for a lot of change and just to see where it all was going. But Victoria is the only one left. Charlotte is gone, and on the social media atmosphere, it said that she will not be returning, so she's gone for good. How are they going to reference to this? I don't know, because of course you see the funeral of Daniel. It appears to be the funeral of Daniel coming up in January after the mid-season finale, and it doesn't look like Charlotte's there. So how will they reference to her not coming back? I don't know. Here is the juicy, 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 juicy part. David tries to kill Victoria. What? I was sitting at the TV like, dang, this is not cute. Okay, so with that being said, here's this emotional roller coaster I'm talking about because last week it was just boring, and not only was it boring, like I said, I was like, this could be a daytime TV show, and it will fit right in with everybody else and everything else that's going on. But this week it was like on and popping. The fight scene between Kate and Emily was off the chain. And I said, there's that famous drop from the balcony scene. And then not only that, Emily fell first. So Kate landed on her, and I was like, dang, that had to hurt. But homegirl still got up afterwards. But you could tell she was very hurt. I like how they played that out at the end when Daniel pretty much came in to save Emily, and you could tell that she really could not fend for herself. So it all made more sense when that scene happened, and it wasn't over dramatized, and it was more realistic to me, just in my opinion, that I actually like. So the fight scene was off the chain, but while the fight scene is taking place, David and Victoria are back at the beach house, which of course, as they show it, is kind of, right next door to the Grayson Manor, which I guess we could call it the Emily Manor now, because she bought it from under the Graysons. But he's sitting there, and Victoria's basically, she's taking her son's advice, and she's not hiding anymore, and she lets David know why she did what she did, why she turned him into or framed him and turned his computer into Conrad, and basically Conrad used that to frame David. And this is the part that I want to slap. I want to just slap Victoria. She gets on my ever loving nerve. How are you going to place the blame on somebody else for the reason why you framed that person? She pretty much apologized, but also let David know it was his fault that she did what she did in the first place. Because as we all know, Emily's mom had mental issues. So her mom was being treated, and she was in a facility, and she was being treated for the issues she had. Not only that, she tried to kill Emily. Emily's own mother, Amanda's real mother, tried to drown her because of her mental issues. So in order to protect Amanda, David put her mother away, but of course she was being taken care of, but told Amanda that her mother had died. Okay. He also told Victoria the same story. Stupid Victoria says that I became afraid when I found out that your wife was really alive, and we was getting ready to make a new family, and or start over with our family, and I had Daniel, and we were gonna bring Amanda, and I was afraid, and I gave you time to tell me the truth, but you never did. And so she said, and you broke my trust. And I was like, what the? That is no excuse to frame anybody. And then, of course, let me tell you guys something. Honestly, if you're going to keep a secret, if it's going to be a secret, if possible, you should be the only one who knows the secret. Why would David tell Victoria? That's really none of her business. Amanda's mother was out of the picture for a reason, and he wanted it to stay that way. He did not want to tell her because he didn't trust her with the information. The issue at hand is, if it's a secret and you want to ensure that nobody else knows, you don't tell anybody else. Period. And that's how I felt. So I'm like, she had no right to get upset because he wouldn't tell her something that he felt that he only should know, because if anybody else know that, it could get out. Who's to say Victoria wouldn't have ever told Amanda? And you know how mothers are, and women, you know how we are when something's eating at us and we see a child suffering or questioning about their mother and all that, and we know how Victoria is. I wouldn't have gave her that information either. you know Now, her tears look real, but whatever. I'm not digging Victoria, because I'm like, first of all, that's not his fault. That's not an excuse to frame someone who supposedly gave you the best time of your life. And this is also, I'm going to go back to all of Victoria's romantic relationships, because okay, she stayed with Conrad, and then I'm like, so you chose to pick Conrad over David, and you knew what Conrad was capable of. You knew he had issues. You knew how he operated. But yet, that one little lie David told scared you. I would never understand that. That is the stupidest thing that she could have said, honestly. But she stayed with Conrad. She so called said she was in love with David, and she framed him. She was in love with this artist that we saw, and she was in love with Margot's dad. That's four men. I'm like, there's not that much love in the world. I mean, seriously, when you really love someone, it takes a long time for another man to really just, or woman, just saying, in any relationship, to just come in and take that spot. there's a difference between love and like. I believe, yeah, you can like a lot of people. You can, there could be things about a person, quality, personality, whatever, that you can just like. But to love someone, it's just, there's a difference. There's a big jump between those two. Like and love. Big difference. So I felt like, yeah, her tears could have been real, but I think just from looking at the previews of the up and coming episode after the mid season break, I feel like David still does not trust her because Emily references to him killing Victoria again. And of course, what he did was he poured poison in her wine. But she went to sip it, and that's when she ended up spilling her guts about what she had done to him. So she didn't drink it, and hopefully David goes back and pours it down the sink before he ends up accidentally drinking it. And to me, poisoning someone is a dangerous game, because I was looking at that wine, I'm like, I hope he did not confuse which one was his and which one was hers. Now, here poses the question, and I saw a few people going off about this on social media, and I said, I really have to agree. Why the heck? What made him want to kill her? So, this might be playing at our theory that he really was playing Victoria the whole time. Probably to make her think that she had, or that he trusted her in order to get her to this point. So it does appear that he's known the truth, or it might be that there's a hit out on Victoria and he was supposed to take out all the Graysons in the first place. It's kind of hard to tell. But at this point, Victoria is pretty much the last Grayson standing. Not that Charlotte is dead or anything, but if it's really true that she's not returning, then of course we're going to have to see where it ends with Victoria. And I was going to make a prediction on where Victoria ended up, but I'm going to hold off on my prediction for a moment because I want to see kind of how everything dwindles down a little bit before I just go all off on what I think is going to happen to her. And we'll see. So I'm gonna reserve my prediction on her at the moment. So let's go back to Emily fighting Kate. Kate reveals to her that she's Malcolm's daughter. Emily said that she never believed this story that Kate pretty much told, saying that Malcolm had her mother and that Malcolm was making her do what she was doing. And Emily said she never believed that for a moment, and asked Kate, well, when the question is, when are you going to kill me? When Kate was pretty much saying, we're going to take the money, we're going to put it in a certain account, and pretty much draw him out of hiding, and that's how we'll be able to take him down. But next thing you know, they started fighting after Emily had stolen Kate's clip, and she still didn't catch that because earlier on, Emily also stole her phone and gave it to Nolan, which hopefully in the up and coming episodes, that's going to lead to them, being able to find out Malcolm Black's location to pretty much get to him first. But she also stole the gun clip, and Kate went to shoot it, and the gun did not go off. She ended up getting that clip at the end, and of course Daniel stood in the way of her being able to shoot Emily. But to me, now this is where it got a little tricky because she wasn't really aiming at Emily. She was aiming to shoot Daniel. To me, that's what it looked like. And Jack came running in, and here's the question that everybody else had on social media: why didn't they call 911? Good question, and I have an answer to that. I think, in my opinion, just from looking at it, I'm thinking if they had called 911 right away, it would not have given Emily the opportunity to cover up some things. Before her and Kate got into a fight, she let Kate know that she was on camera and that her cover had been blown. But the issue is that Kate also refers to Emily as Amanda. And of course, that's not a secret that too many other people know about, and it has not yet gone public. So, I feel like had they called the cops, which I think they should have, But like I said, it doesn't give Emily any room to cover anything up that she does not want the cops to know. Number one. Number two, it will also ruin her father's cover because he told that story about him being locked away in, pretty much that dungeon type thing. So they don't know that what happened was his, and they think that Conrad framed his murder in prison. So that will also blow his cover and let them know that another man is after him and that he really wasn't where he said he was. Not only that, David did a lot of rough, messed up, dark things, it sounds like, for Malcolm. So all of that would also have to come out in the wash if they had just called the cops right away. And I think that's basically what happened. I wish that Daniel would have survived. I'm just like all the other fans, and like maybe he's not really dead, but I really do believe that that is the end of Daniel's character, unfortunately. But that's why they didn't call the cops. Now, where is this going to take place when it comes back in January? It's hard to say. It's going to be off the chain. I do believe now we're getting back. I wouldn't say we're back to the original Revenge where we've been, but on episode 10 here, I have missed the action. And that's what I meant in the beginning, where I was like the emotions of up and down, left and right. I missed the action that we've had from Revenge in the beginning, where Emily's taken down and it's pretty much kick butt. And of course, throughout season 4, we see a little things here and there. But like I said, it's very soap opera like things. Where you find somebody murdered and it's like, who did it? Who is it? Who is it? And it's not really that action that we've had all along. And it's definitely night and day between the episode before and this episode here. The action was great. I really loved it. I love seeing Emily, being back to herself and on guard and not really being that intimidated Emily that we've seen all season 3, where she, kind of lost herself. It seems like she's back, and that's not in question anymore. It appears. But like I said, it may go from this to another low and, then build up again. But hopefully they'll keep it built up from here. And like I said, I'm very, very, very nervous about Margot now not having Daniel in her life. I mean, this chick can snap any moment, too. She has that personality where she looks at everybody else and they're wrong, but she's not wrong because she has an excuse for doing what she's doing. So that really bothers me. Now, I have not talked about Ben and Louise, so let me cover them real quick. Like, love Nolan. Nolan can pretty much, he is one who can tread amongst different people, and he makes everybody feel comfortable, no matter whether he agrees with their lifestyle or, agrees with who they are as far as maybe personality. He may think you off your rocker, but he gives you a chance, which is why I think Nolan has had the many different relationships that he's had throughout, the whole series of Revenge. I love that Nolan, even though he he loves Emily, but Nolan also has his own mind, his own personality. He thinks for himself, and he does not go off and seek approval from anyone to have another friend. And I like that about him. I This is another up and down. Louise came in the picture going after Victoria, right? And now it's almost like you forgot that Louise was even going after Victoria because, of course, Louise has mama issues. Her mama did something to her. I mean, her mama, I guess, just made her feel like crap, like she wasn't worth it. She has a lot of family secrets. And I feel like now they just dropped the ball on her whole pursuit to Victoria, because Nolan even referenced and said that she was leaving town, that she was getting ready to take the boat and she was out. So it's almost like we see Louise go through all of this. We see Louise almost kill Margot over trying to get in with Victoria through Daniel, and then all of a sudden it just falls off and that story's gone. So it appears. Will it come back up? I don't know. But now Nolan is focused on helping Louise pretty much with her family issues that she won't have to run from her brother who she's afraid of right now because he doesn't want certain family secrets getting out. So Nolan and Louise, I have to say, I love the moments between them. I feel like Nolan brings out the honesty in Louise, and it could be that having a friend like Nolan helps her to balance out those issues that she went after seeking Victoria. That could be a possibility. I'm happy that they don't have it set up to where at the moment, you guys, at the moment, I don't know what's coming up, but at this moment from season 4, episode 1 to 10, Louise does not look like she has anything out for Nolan where she's ready to, hurt him. And he apologized to her for leaking that information to Margot, which she printed in a newspaper, article or whatever, magazine article. So he went to see her. She was on her boat minding her own business, which was good to see. We did not see her plotting or scheming. And Nolan basically had been texting her and calling her, and he said, I even left you a voicemail. And so he really wanted to make things right between their relationship. And so what he did was he let her host his party along with him, and they were trending as a hashtag, which was really cute because of course they have both been subject to high gossip in the past few episodes, and him with David Clark basically coming after him on live TV about the money that he was supposed to give to Amanda, and that David thought that he never did because he didn't know that his daughter was still alive. So they were pretty much together on that, and it was good to see where Louise is going to go from here. I don't know how Nolan's going to help her. I don't know. Do I like their relationship? I think it is cool. I hope that if anything, maybe Louise can also be Nolan's real friend, and maybe she'll move on past this Victoria thing. Is it good to have somebody else out for Victoria? I don't think she wanted to take Victoria down, but she would have ruffled Victoria's feathers a whole lot. So is it good to see somebody doing that other than Emily? Yeah, because it kind of leaves that okay, Victoria has somebody else who is also hunting her down other than Emily. So it's good to see that. And Ben had a 2-second appearance in the mid-season finale, and he is such a snitch. He ran into Emily, and Emily was leaving Kate's hotel room at the time because she put those cool little cameras that Nolan has. Those are so cool. They look like dolphins, and of course they live in Florida, so it's kind of wait. Are they in Florida, you guys? I don't know why I'm thinking they're in Florida. I could be totally wrong. They're in the Hamptons, but to me it was Florida-ish when I saw the little dolphins being put up in the room. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. But they're clear and you cannot tell their cameras. They look like little stickers. It's really neat. And so she was putting that throughout the room, and Ben walks in the hallway after Emily had left the room. He didn't see her leaving the room, and she told him that she was coming to stake out a conference room for her next event or whatever. And he pretty much told her that she was like, "Oh, I was here to stake out a conference room." And he's like, "Oh, I thought you was here to see Jack." And I'm like, "Seriously? She just told you why she was there. You didn't even have to go there." But then he's telling her that, "Oh, we have a pool on Kate and Jack, at the job or on the force or whatever." And so that's when Emily kind of was like, okay, I have to go. And I think that maybe he had assumed at that moment that something was going on between Emily and Jack. But of course, Emily just wanted to warn Jack about Kate. And of course, I'm really still mad at Jack for even hooking up with Kate. Seriously, I mean, I didn't like that girl from the moment she showed up. I did not like her. Just something about her attitude. I was just like, really? Seriously? Don't do it, Jack. And he did it anyway. He couldn't hear me through the TV screen, and that was just not cool. They need to make it to where now when they record a show, we can say something and then it just, goes to the next scene. They need to record that scene 3 different times in 3 different ways. And then we yell at the screen, don't do it. Then it goes to the scene where he actually doesn't do it. Wouldn't that be cool? It's not gonna work, but it would be cool. So I really think that's it, you guys, on my review. I liked the mid-season finale. I'm not mad at it like I was mad at Intel, which was the episode before. They have definitely jumped to something interesting. Will this episode keep the momentum? That's questionable, but hopefully they do. I feel like, we can get the ball rolling here, and maybe we can see Emily and David in action. David, where do I stand with him? Because I was anti David Clark being alive. I hated it. I still don't like it, but I'm used to him now. And like everybody else says, he shaved, he looks better. So this is cool. I'm there. They got me again. They hooked me again. They threw me out to sea and then they reeled me back in. So that was really good. So I like it. And where we go from here, I'll be back to give another review once the mid season finale, or once we're past the mid-season finale and back over into new episodes in January. I will be back to give a review for you guys to kind of give you my take on what's going on, because it should be interesting to see everybody's reaction on what happened to Daniel at the end. And RIP to Daniel's character. I feel like Josh did an awesome job playing his role with him. And of course, what's going on, buzz around social media, is that Josh was ready to leave the set of Revenge, and he was just talking about how back and forth his character has been between, you know, trying to be his own man and then becoming more of like the man his daddy wanted him to be, which was a back and forth. And it's buzzing that it was maybe too much for him, but I don't know. I gotta go research and see what the real deal is. And I have read some things, especially when he went to go dark, and I did read that he did. If he said if he took his character in that direction, that they did eventually, he did want them to eventually kill his character off. Now, I did read that for myself. So, I'm going to go and see what his reaction is now that, his character is gone off of the show, and that his character has been killed by Kate off the show. Now, I'll let you guys know, maybe update you when I come back in January to review the future episodes coming up, what his thoughts are on his character ending. And I'll probably talk about Charlotte's too, which I don't miss Charlotte at all, but I do hate that she left in the way that she did. Maybe it could have been something else that happened to make it seem like her leaving was a little more permanent than her just going and maybe going to rehab or something like that. So maybe I'll have all that information coming up. So it has been really, really awesome hanging out with you guys and letting you know my thoughts on Revenge. If you have any thoughts and you want to talk about it, go ahead and share it with me. There is no right or wrong shares. I love reading what everybody has to say about Revenge. I like to know what you have to say. And if you've reviewed Revenge of your own and you have a YouTube channel where you review Revenge, go ahead and share the link with me. I'd love to check out your review as well. And if you love my review, please, please, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I would love to have you all as a subscriber. You rock. Once again, this is Monica, and you can come check me out anytime at www.tvandpopcorn.com. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye bye.